Very good morning, dear children. We are on the last topic of our history chapter 2, which is a closer look the Cholas. Children, we are going to study about the Chola dynasty. Fine. Now from Urayur to Thanjavur. Fine. How these Chola they rise their power. They were very small in the map one, you can say. See, in the map one you saw Cholas, they have a very small part, and now here you in map 2 you can see their very big dynasty. So how it happened? See children, there were many minor chiefly families which were known as Mutayyars, and they were having power in the Kaveri delta. You can see the Kaveri river, and these Mutayyars, they have they were the subordinates to the Pallavas king, and Pallava kings were of Kanchipuram. Now Vijayalaya, who belonged to the ancient chiefly families of the Cholas, and he was from Urayur, he captured the delta from the Mutayyars in the 9th century, and he built the town of Thanjavur there, and he made a temple there for goddess Nishumba Sudani there. Now, all the successors of Vijayalaya, they conquered all the neighboring regions, and kingdom grew in a size and power. Even the Pandyans and the Pallava territories to the south and north were also made the part of this kingdom, children. And after that, Raja Raja won. uh, Raja Raja I is considered as the most powerful Chola ruler, and he became king in 985, and he expanded the control over most of the areas, and he also reorganized all the administration of the empire. His son Rajendra I, he continued his policies, and he even raided the Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka, countries of Southeast Asia. How come he can gain control there? By developing a navy for these expeditions. Now, children, splendid temples and bronze sculptures. Now, big temples of Thanjavur, Gangai Konda Cholapuram. The Thanjavur temple was built by Raja Raja, and Gangai Konda Cholapuram was built by Rajendra. And if you will just take a look on these temples, they are, marvelous. Their architecture, their sculpture is marvelous. Now, Chola temples, they were, a hub for settlement also. Okay, these were the centers of craft production also, and the temples were given land by the rulers as well as by other people. Whatever produce was there on this land was used in maintaining all the specialists who were working for the temple and were living near the temple, like the priests, the garland makers, the cooks, the sweepers, the musicians, the dancers. And children, in other words, we can say that these temples were not only the place of worship, but they were famous for the economic, social, and cultural life as well. Now, amongst all the craft associated things with the temple, the main thing which was distinctive was the bronze images. Chola's bronze images were considered amongst the finest in the world. Fine. The images were sometimes of the deities, and even sometimes they were of the devotees as well, children. You can see the bronze image here. Then agriculture and irrigation. Now, there were many achievements of the Cholas, and that were only possible because through the new developments in the agriculture. Fine. So now, if you will just see the map too, you will see that the Kaveri river is dividing into small channels before it is falling in the Bay of Bengal. So these channels, they used to overflow most of the time, and they used to deposit fertile soil on the banks. Whatever water was there from the channels, they used to provide moisture to the agriculture, and cultivation of rice was very nicely done here. Fine. Now, agriculture was developed earlier in the Tamil Nadu, but in the 5th and 6th century, the area was opened for large scale cultivation. Now, here the forests were cleared, the land was labeled, and the delta region, embankments were made just to get free from flooding, and canals were constructed to carry water to the fields, and many times two crops were grown in a year. Fine. Now there were many cases when watering crops was done artificially also. How come? Like different methods were there, like wells were dug, tanks were constructed to collect the rainwater. All this irrigation work, it required a lot of planning, organization, resources, and who's going to do all these things? The rulers as well as the people living in the villages. They were taking active part in all this. The administration of the empire. Now, how was the empire administered? Now, the settlements of peasant, that was known as Ur, and they became prosperous with the spread of irrigation in the agriculture. Now, group of such villages, that was known as Nadu, and the village council, or you can call the Nadu, they used to perform different administrative functions, including giving justice to people, collecting the taxes. Now, all the rich peasants, they belong to the Velala caste, and they were controlling over the affairs of the Nadu, and they were working under the supervision of central Chola government. The Chola kings used to give rich landowners some titles like Movenda Velan or Arayar, fine, just to give them respect and just to entrust them with their important offices of the state at the center. Now, different types of lands were there. Find how they were categorized. Now, vegan, Velan Vegai was the land which the non-Brahmin peasants have. Brahmadeya, the land which was gifted to the Brahmanas. Shalabhog, the land which was given for the maintenance of school. Devdana, uh, Tiruna Matukani, they were the land gifted to the temples. And Pali Chandam, it was land donated to Jaina institutions. Fine. Now, Brahmins used to get land grants, and that was known as Brahmadaya. Now, there was a large number of Brahmin settlements as they were getting land grants. So, they all were there in the Kaveri Valley and even in the other parts of South India also. So, all these Brahmadayas were looked after by the assembly of prominent Brahmin landholders, or you can call them the Sabha. Fine. Now, the decisions, all the decision of Sabha, that was recorded in the inscription, and they were often inscribed on the stones or wall of temples. Now, the association of traders were also there, that was known as Nagaram, and it occasionally performed all the administrative functions in the towns. Now, there is an inscription from Uttara Merur in Chingalpur district, Tamil Nadu, and it just tells us how the Sabha was organized. How Sabha had a separate committee for looking after different works like irrigation, for irrigation a separate committee, for garden a separate committee, for temple a separate committee. Now, all those who are eligible to become the member of the committee, their names were written on small palm tickets, and then they were put in the earthen pot, and any young child was called to take up a ticket. So, whatever name used to come, according to that, the members were, uh, you can say, chosen. Fine. Now, in this box, you can see that there are some eligibilities for the one who wants to become the member of the Sabha. So please go through it, children. And this was all about today's topic. Thank you and have a nice day.